Yesterday morning, the U.S. Senate finally gave their final approval to a federal budget. The vote narrowly avoids a U.S. default next week and also a government shutdown in December. Arlene Park is going beyond the headlines on this deal. She sat down with both Senator Wyden and Senator Merkley today about the latest happenings in Congress in a wide-ranging interview.
We avoided a government shutdown. Tell me about that.
Enormously important, because the fact is our country is an economic rock in these very tumultuous seas. And if we were to default on our budget, in effect not pay bills that were due, that would jeopardize our full faith and credit and send a horrendous message around the world.
You've made a new push ever since Roseburg for more gun control. How's that going?
Nationwide, we have a lot of loopholes in the system. We don't get good data into the system. A lot of personal sales are not covered. And so this is the area where there's no long-term registration. The government doesn't know who has what gun. This is kind of the sweet spot that Americans agree on. So let's make this registration system work. Or not registration, excuse me, this background check system work.
I wanted to quickly talk about the GOP presidential race. We've never seen anything like this before. All the experts are dumbfounded. Two of the leading contenders have no political experience. What do you think this says about the climate in the states in terms of the establishment?
I think it's a reflection of enormous frustration that is felt on the left and the right, that we simply don't have a functioning legislative process.
Millions of Americans say that the system doesn't work for them.
I could not believe when I was elected in 2009 to go and see the Senate and see how paralyzed the Senate had become.
Why is it paralyzed?
Well, it's paralyzed because the whole context has changed, and it's reflected in a bitter partisanship.
When you watch Donald Trump and Ben Carson, Marco Rubio duke it out on stage, what's going on in your mind?
Again, I come back to the fact that certainly that plays in the short term. I continue to believe that Americans and Oregonians are willing to take a longer and more reflective look when it comes time to actually making a decision.
Let's talk about the Democratic presidential race. Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders?
I've not issued a formal endorsement, but I've been very supportive of Secretary Clinton.
Well, I haven't endorsed in this race.
Let's talk about this new bill aimed at lowering the cost of college.
We shouldn't have our students worried about being crushed by debt payments.
Our families just feel like they're getting clobbered with these costs.
Someone's going to end up paying for it.
There's a bit more to it than that. The reality is that higher education is one of the few major things we buy that seems just impregnable to marketplace forces.
It would limit a debt payment on a student loan to 10% of your discretionary income. And then the balance that is not paid off after 20 years is forgiven.
And that was Arlene Park reporting. Well, let's